Have you ever opened the menu of a video game to adjust a graphics setting or a control setting, and you're just bewildered to see that it's not there? Well, that happens to me all the time as a PC player, but it happens on console too. Sometimes a missing option might only be noticed by a small number of players, but some are so standard it's downright inexcusable not to have them. Maybe you're someone who feels excluded from storytelling because of games not having an option to increase the subtitle size. Maybe you're sitting there in shock because a game doesn't have a way to disable the nauseating amount of motion blur being applied to the image. We could talk about colorblind mode, disabling tutorials. There's so many things that could be considered for this list, but this is just my experience. This is my personal list of the top 10 missing menu options that piss me off. Comment below with your own choices if you like, and please keep in mind that some of these picks don't apply to every type of game. Like our first entry, number 10, Screen Shake. Look, the right amount of screen shake can help the feeling of visceral action. Guns can feel more impactful, melee action really pops, and explosions feel like they're actually happening. But devs tend to go overboard. The image gets hard to follow, and you can even get a headache from trying to keep track of it all. I remember needing to turn it off in the first hour of Shredder's Revenge. And I want to give a shout out to Turbo Overkill and Ultra Kill for including an option to adjust the amount of screen shake to your preference. Wonderful. Let's make this standard. Number 9, aim sensitivity. I'm not talking about camera sensitivity, I'm talking about aim sensitivity in third-person shooters. Those are two different things, or at least they should be. The camera is how you look around while moving. Of course we can adjust that, but sometimes games connect that to your aim sensitivity. It may work for a lot of titles, but in some games, like survival horror games, you may not want the camera to be whipping around everywhere when you aim. You want that sensitivity to be a bit lower, or even much lower, so you can focus on those zombies in a hallway and then snap back into fast free camera movement when you're running around. If you don't have these two separate options, it can become a constant battle of sensitivity settings for an entire playthrough. Number 8, PlayStation icons. I'm a lifelong PlayStation user, and though 99% of my gaming is done on the PC these days, I still use a PlayStation controller for PC fighting games, beat-em-ups, platformers, etc. And it seems like every game I play defaults to Xbox icons. Only the occasional title I find has an option to display PlayStation icons, and it's a revelation when it happens, especially if I'm playing something with QTEs. The game is screaming, "Press X!" but it really wants me to press square. It screws me up every time. I also want to make it clear that I know some of these things have workarounds, programs you can install and whatnot. I'm simply saying that regardless, these should be standard menu options. Number 7, display output. Playing on a PC with multiple monitors, easily being able to change displays is more of a correctional option than one of accessibility. From time to time, I've launched a game that just loves to open on a monitor that's not my primary monitor, and it fights me the whole way. If only there were a menu option to fix it. Seeing the Dead Space remake include this just floored me. I thought, how considerate, why don't more games do this? I also have my TV connected to my PC, but it's not always on, and sometimes I'll open a game that decides it wants to go to the TV even though it's off, so I gotta turn on the TV and then get it back to where it's supposed to be. It's weird. I wonder if anyone else has this experience. There are ways to change the display of a game by putting it into windowed mode and forcing full screen, but I still prefer just having the option in menu. Another option that has a workaround, but I prefer having in menu is number 6, master volume slider. It's just unbelievable to me that some games don't include a master volume slider. You're gonna let me adjust dialogue, sound effects, and music separately, but not all together? You're gonna make me pull up a Windows option or take out the TV remote to make overall adjustments to the mix I have set up? It's so weird. It can't be that hard to include such a basic option. Number 5, aiming zoom. Oh boy, this is a big one. The constant zoom in when aiming in third-person shooters is something that I find disorienting, on top of how much of your peripheral vision can be cut off. It got really bad in Aliens Fireteam Elite. Luckily I was able to mod the game to disable it, but that shouldn't be necessary. Now, I'm not asking for games to just stop implementing aim zoom. I think it can enhance the experience. All I want is a slider to adjust the degree. I wouldn't flat out eliminate aim zoom with a mod if I had the option to simply reduce it. Number 4, exit to desktop or quit game. Yes, there are ways around this. You can always Alt F4 out or force quit. But why do games ever decide to not have an option to close the game in the menu? I open and close games a lot because of all this video work, and I'm always annoyed by the absence of this option because my instinct is to open the menu and leave from there. Sometimes games make you exit the gameplay to return to the main menu screen first. In Resident Evil 2, you gotta exit the gameplay, load the title screen, listen to the opening sound, wait for the menu to load, and then quit the game. Just let me quit immediately, please. Number 3, cheats and modifiers. I'm genuinely surprised that the vast majority of single-player games don't include more ways to customize the experience on replay. You can add a lot of replayability to your game with stuff like infinite ammo, God mode, and other cheats. But even more rare are modifiers to make the game more challenging. Take double damage, fewer resource drops, increasing the game speed. When you're in love with a single-player game, it's great to have ways to push yourself further. I suppose I could just turn on screen shake, or lower the FOV. Yes, that's number 2, field of view slider. At this point, it's unacceptable and unforgivable for games to not include FOV sliders. First person, third person, shooter, brawler, action game, a title will almost always benefit from the ability to widen your FOV, at least somewhat. Many people struggle with motion sickness, and widening the FOV can help. It can also help make a game's movement feel faster, because more visual information is passing by. In a fast-paced shooter where you're getting surrounded, you need more vision on your sides. FOV is one of the first things I modify whenever I open a new first-person or third-person game, fast or slow, and it's nice to see developers get utterly roasted online for not including it. One thing people don't talk about enough is that these low FOVs are actually used to hide performance issues. That's why God of War's FOV is so low. Whatever you don't see doesn't have to be rendered, so the lower the FOV, the better looking they can make the image in front of you. So I say, screw your top-of-the-line graphics, dial back the graphical fidelity a bit, and let me see the enemy who's running at me on my right. And my number 1 missing menu option that pisses me off is difficulty settings. Nothing will ruin your experience like making it 10 hours in and realizing that it's too easy or too hard, and you're forced to either suffer through the rest not enjoying it, or restarting from level 1. Fortunately, over the years we've seen titles implementing mid-game difficulty changes. Every game is different, there's no way to know what setting is going to be the best experience for you. Usually I pick hard, but some titles are actually more enjoyable to me on normal, and then some need to be played on the extreme difficulty. You just never know. Being able to change it at any time means I can start on the highest, lower it if I find it to be too much, and then raise it again once I find my footing. This also helps with those bizarre, insane difficulty spikes when a game is poorly balanced, or if you're just fed up with a particular challenge. Someone can lower the difficulty for just a moment to get past an encounter, and then bump it back up when they're ready. It isn't an option that fits every kind of game. You don't see it in survival horror, for example, because difficulty settings often affect resource drops, inventory size, and even how saving works. But in action titles, first-person shooters, hack and slashers, racing games, being able to customize the difficulty can help a lot of people get what they need out of many titles. Alright, that's my list. Honorable mention goes to disabling automatic NPC hints. We should be able to solve puzzles in God of War without our partner blurting out the answer after 10 seconds. That's really annoying. Post your list in the comments below. I'm Under the Mayo, and I'm out of here.